Georgia versus Alabama kicks off tomorrow night at 7:30. And I know the whole world has been waiting on this one. I'm here today on, if you're watching this and you've seen this on YouTube, you're watching the life of Dustin and Allison. I've already done my trash talk / preview and prediction video. So today I'm gonna go ahead and give my final feelings, my final thoughts on this game. You know, I do a video every week on the upcoming opponent Georgia's about to play, but this week called for 2 videos. Like I said, the video that, if you haven't seen the first video that I did on my actual the preview and prediction, and like I said, a lot of trash talk about the game, go to YouTube and search the life of Dustin and Allison. You'll find our YouTube channel. Subscribe. We're looking to get some more subscribers. We're almost at 200 subscribers. Y'all go in there and help us out. I do these football videos all the time. I do videos speaking on my faith and my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ all the time. Me and my wife do vlogs and different little funny videos. You'll really enjoy our channel. But today I wanted to come on here because, you know, I made my trash talk video about Alabama and my preview and my prediction video about Alabama so early that there's been so much happened since then. And, you know, I kind of wanted to, you know, the trash talk video was so trash talk that I kind of wanted to make a video, you know, that was a little more, me being a little more cool-headed, if I can stay that way. So this is not intended to be a trash talk video, but if it starts to come out and I start to get fired up, I just can't help it. This is kind of my final feelings on this football game. Like I said, Georgia is going down to play in Tuscaloosa at Alabama, at Bryant-Denny Stadium, freshly named Saban Field. And I just wanted to speak on a couple things. You know, I guess at the beginning here, I'll give Alabama and Georgia some credit. I literally had to write a list. There's 3 or 4 little things I'd like to cover right here, right quick. And I'm going to try to make this video quick. And I'm pacing around the yard. If I get down a rabbit trail, I'll try to pull out of it real quick. So that's why I literally made a list. Number 1, can Georgia and Alabama, we know this has been the premier rivalry in college football for the last 5 years. Can we just, you know, they can talk about the Iron Bowl all they want, Alabama and Auburn. They can talk about the game, Ohio State and Michigan, all they want, Georgia, Florida, all they want. They can talk about all they want to talk about. You know, Georgia, Tennessee, you know, Penn State whiteout games. The premier matchup in college football for the last 5 years has been this one right here. It's been Georgia versus Alabama. And just taking a step back from the trash talk, if we can take our hands off of each other's throats for just 5 seconds and sit back before this game starts, before tomorrow gets started, because tomorrow it's going to be all hate. I promise you that. Can we as Georgia fans and Alabama fans come together on one thing for once in our lives? Can we sit back and realize the magnitude of this game? Can we sit back and realize, if we can just stop fighting for 1 second and realize how big this game is? You know, this is literally, guys, this is going to be the king of monsters. This is going to be the best on the best in the whole sport. Do you realize that everybody wants to be us? You know, everybody's going to be watching this game. Tennessee fans, Oklahoma fans, LSU fans, Florida fans, Auburn fans, Ohio State fans, Michigan fans, fans all over the world. This is liable to be the most watched football game in college football history. I mean, it literally is liable to be the most watched football game in college football history. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be the king of monsters going at each other. It's going to be King Kong versus T-Rex. You know, it's going to be Goliath versus Goliath. It's going to be Godzilla versus Godzilla. It's going to be Georgia versus Alabama. Can we sit back and pull away from wanting to destroy each other for 5 seconds to realize the magnitude that this game carries and all that it means for football? I mean, literally, guys, when Georgia and Alabama play, the whole college football world comes to a still. The world of college football stops spinning, and everybody is gathered around the TV wanting to see these two teams play. They want to see the best of the best go at each other. This is good on good. This is elite on elite. Both sides of the ball. I've done my trash talk video. You already know what I think. I think Georgia's going to win the game. I think Georgia's going to win the game convincingly. That's just what I think. You know, let me not even go down a rabbit hole. It's just, guys, everybody else is going to be watching this game. And fan bases of all sorts of other teams, they're literally going to be sitting there. And they're going to be thinking in the back of their hearts and in the back of their minds, you know, I can't wait for the day that my team is like just one of those teams. I don't even care if it's Georgia or Alabama. I just want my team to be like one of those teams. I want to be dominant. I want to be, when we come on, the world stops and watches us. I want to be the team that you know, when we play a good team like this, that is the whole world stops and sees. You know, this is Georgia at Alabama. I mean, it don't get no bigger than this in college football, guys. Tomorrow night at 7:30. If you can't get fired up for this one, you can't get fired up for college football. This is a big deal, and I'm not trying to blow it out of proportion, you know, but it's a big deal. This has been circled for a long time now. You know, like I said, Alabama knew they had a couple of little cupcake games at first, and then going at Wisconsin. Georgia knew we had we were going to play Clemson in Atlanta, and then a cupcake, and then on the road at Kentucky. But everybody knew, like when I was counting down for the season, when Alabama fans were counting down for the season, we weren't counting down to the start of the season, even though we were ready for it. Everybody had September 28th circled on their calendar, and I feel like there's more I have to say about that. But let me move on to another point. Point number one was just the magnitude of the game. Everybody wants to be us. Everybody's going to be watching. The whole world's going to be watching. I mean, just know whatever the outcome, the whole world's going to see it, and they're all going to be one of us. They all want to be either Alabama or Georgia, and they can't be. It's just that simple. This isn't a trash talk video. Let me try really hard. Okay, number two, I have wrote down here in my chicken scratch. Whoever wins or loses in reality isn't going away. Still feels like Georgia has to win. Okay, my second point here. My second point is my main point. This was my main point in the video. This game is being built up as like the Super Bowl or like a playoff game, or like whoever loses is dead, and whoever wins is going on, marching on. This game, now that we have a 12-team playoff, I mean, literally, guys, I don't mean to say this like it doesn't mean anything. It means everything. I mean, this game's so big, this is the reason I'm having to make another video on my final feelings on it. But in reality, if Alabama wins this game, Georgia's not going anywhere. And in reality, if Georgia wins this game, Alabama's not going anywhere. They're still going to be right there in the top 5. It doesn't matter. You can put Georgia and Alabama, you can put them at number 1 and number 2. You can put them at number 4 and number 5. You can put them at number 71 and 78 if you want to. It really doesn't matter. Right now, these are the 2 top dogs in the sport. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It matters, but it's like whoever wins or loses this game, it's really not going to affect hardly anything. You know, Georgia does have a tougher schedule moving forward than Alabama. You know, Alabama's got LSU, who's not looking as good as maybe we thought they were. Missouri, not looking as good as maybe we thought they were. A couple other teams I can't really think of right now, but I know Georgia's got to go play on the road at Texas. And then we got to go play on the road at Ole Miss. And then we got Tennessee coming in. Tennessee's looking even better than we even thought they'd be. You know, Tennessee's looking like a legitimate top 10 team here. I mean, it's going to be a problem. This is going to be a problem. You know, so Georgia really needs this game more, it feels like. And that's my other point inside of this point. It really doesn't matter who wins or loses, because guess what? 12 teams make the playoff. Guess what? There's no divisions in the SEC anymore. The top 2 teams are going to make... I mean, we could literally... I'm telling you right now, this could happen vice versa. Alabama could beat Georgia tomorrow. Georgia could beat Alabama in the SEC championship game. And then Alabama could beat Georgia in a playoff game. Or vice versa. Georgia could beat Alabama tomorrow, and then Alabama turn around and beat Georgia in the playoff. I mean, in the SEC championship game. And then Georgia turn around and beat them in a playoff game or the national championship game. These 2 teams may end up in the so tomorrow, whoever wins or loses, it's not over. It's not over. But it does feel like Georgia needs to win this game. I told my dad earlier today, I was going back and forth in my mind about, like I was saying, you know, we both really want to win this game. Georgia really, really wants and needs to win this game. But, you know, would I rather win this one, or would I rather win the SEC championship? Would I rather win this one, or would I rather knock Bama off in a playoff game? And I thought, no. I'm not thinking like that. I'm not this time. I'm not thinking like that. Bama has had Georgia's number for a long time now, okay? I'm not thinking like that. I'm thinking that Georgia needs to go in here tomorrow and beat Alabama. And then if they play again, Georgia needs to beat them again. Because the Georgia Bulldogs, they have ascended to the top of college football. They're on the tip top. Like Georgia is, I mean, I know Michigan won the national championship last year, but let's not kid ourselves. It still feels like Georgia is the tip top of the sport. It still feels like, so So why is it that if Georgia is the top of the sport, why does it still feel like Alabama's that giant that's still left to be slain, even though we beat them in the national championship game? 2021, they beat us in the SEC championship game, and we turned around and beat them in the national championship game and won a national championship over them. And I'll never forget it, and it was great. But in the reality, guys, what Georgia has done under Kirby Smart is just incredible. That they have, seriously, they have broken just about almost every record there is to break in college football. I'm talking about even records that Nick Saban and Alabama held, guys. That Georgia is 49-2 in their last 51 games. Georgia's won something like 28 SEC regular season games in a row. Georgia's won something like 42 regular season games in a row, period. They've won 2 out of the 3 last national championships. Georgia has as many national championships in the last 3.5 years as they do losses, total losses. And yes, both of those losses were to Alabama. That's what I'm saying. All these records, and Kirby just broke the record for most wins through 100 games. Out of any coach, that is surpassing Nick Saban. That is surpassing Bear Bryant. Kirby and them they currently have the longest win streak of SEC wins in the regular season. Georgia is literally constantly breaking records that even Nick Saban and Alabama have set, and that's a high standard. This is not trash talk. Yes, Kirby is still clawing, trying to catch Saban. I'm not saying that Kirby is above him yet, but he's closing in very, very rapidly. And if there's anybody who can do it, it's Kirby. And I'm so tired of hearing all this narrative of that Georgia is built by Bama, and that Nick Saban is the only reason for Georgia's success. If that's the case, guys, then what about all the other? And I said this wasn't a trash talk video. If that's the case, then what about guys like Jimbo Fisher? What about guys like Billy Napier? What about guys like Shane Beamer? What about all these other guys that were in the Nick Saban coaching tree that went on and never did this? Why is it only Kirby? Why is it only Kirby Smart that's done this? A lot of people think that Kirby just took some blueprint from Saban and ran with it at Georgia. Travaris Robinson was the defensive backs coach at Alabama for a long time, and we just got him from y'all's staff last year. And okay, he just had an interview, and they asked him about how similar is it the things that Georgia does and the things that Alabama does. And this is a guy who just left Tuscaloosa, saying that actually it's not very similar. That a lot of teams do a lot of the same things, especially in the SEC. We all do the same plays. We all have different versions and different ways and different schemes, but everybody's running just about the same defense, that same offense. Guys, cover one's cover one, cover two's cover two. Man coverage is man coverage. A zone run is a zone run, and a center is a center, a tackle is a tackle, a quarterback is a quarterback, a running back is a running back. We're all doing about the same thing. It's just how we implement it. And yes, there's a lot of things that Kirby did take from Nick Saban. After all, he was the greatest coach of all time. That's all I hear. That's all I hear out of y'all. So if that's the case, then where's all this stuff saying that everything that Nick Saban's ever done is credit to Bill Belichick? Because Nick Saban learned under Bill Belichick. And if that's the case, then why isn't there a thing celebrating Bill Parcells? Because Bill Belichick learned under Bill Parcells. So it's not just a thing of Kirby took the blueprint and ran with it. Travaris Robinson said that actually Georgia does a lot of more simplifying things. Said that the defense at Alabama is a little more complex. Now the defense at Georgia is very complex. But Kirby said they've simplified it down to simplify it in the minds of their players to feel like they can play faster. And that's exactly what Travaris Robinson said. But before I go down, I've already went down a rabbit hole there. It still feels like Georgia has to win this game, And there's no denying Georgia has literally accomplished everything. Name a team, that Georgia hasn't beaten. I hear all this talk about Georgia's schedule being soft. Name a team that Georgia hasn't beaten in the last 3 years. They've beaten everybody. They've beaten Alabama. They've beaten everybody in the SEC twice, 2 or 3 times. They've beaten they've beaten teams like LSU. They've beaten teams like Tennessee. They've beaten Michigan. They've beaten Ohio State. They've beaten Notre Dame. They've beaten Oregon. All the top dogs. They've beaten Florida State. Everybody you see inside the top 15, Georgia has beat, and most of them they beat twice, including Alabama. So there's nothing that they haven't done. But there's just that one glaring thing that they keep bringing up, that is right there. That whole stat of in the last 6, Alabama's won 5, and Georgia's only won 1. And that's true. That's true. It pains me to admit, it pains me to say that in the last 6 games, Alabama's won 5 and Georgia's only won 1. So Georgia needs to win. Georgia needs to win this game. And now, granted, the first 2 or 3 games Alabama should have won, guys. When you go back to 2017, which is a whole nother subject, okay? Goodness, this is definitely going to be a rabbit trail. When you go back to 2017 in the national championship, that was Kirby Smart's second year coaching ever. That was Nick Saban's like 25th, 24th, 23rd, or something like that year as a head coach. Won 4 national championships at Alabama. I mean, the man's got it figured out, okay? They got the ball rolling, okay? He knows what he's doing, and Kirby literally just got started. Let's not forget, going into that game, Alabama was a 9-point favorite. You know, Alabama should have won that game, guys. And Georgia literally took them down to the absolute wire. Alabama was down 2 scores with like 6 minutes to go in the 4th quarter, and Georgia blocked a punt. Tyler Simmons blocked a punt, and Georgia got on the ball inside the Alabama's like 20-yard line. Even if we didn't score a touchdown, we were about to run 2 minutes out of the clock and kick a field goal and go up 3 scores with 5 minutes left. The referees called a flag, said Tyler Simmons was offsides. He wasn't offsides. There's a report. I want you to look it up if you don't believe me. Look it up. It's on, I believe, Saturday Down South. It's an old report. I believe I found it on Saturday Down South years ago. Where the head official come out after the game and said, we made a mistake. Tyler Simmons was on sides, and we called it offsides. Even with that giving Alabama a first down in that game, they still needed 2nd and 26. In other words, they still needed a miracle to come back and win that football game. And I'm not making an excuse. Alabama won the game. Look, but the first 2 or 3 they played, Alabama should have won the game. They're almost a 10-point favorite. Okay. And then the next time they met in the 2018 SEC Championship game, I believe Alabama was the favorite there. They were almost a touchdown favorite, I believe. That was the very next time they met. Okay, they played in the 2017 National Championship game, which was in the beginning of 2018 for the 2017 season, and then they met that year in the SEC Championship game, and Georgia once again dominated them the entire game, and Alabama once again came back with another miracle, okay, and beat Georgia. You know, the first time Tua came in for Jalen Hurts, and then the second time, Jalen Hurts came in for Tua, and it was crazy, and it was like, goodness, why can we not beat this team? Why have we accomplished everything that we've ever done? Like, we have literally become the top dog, and they still got us somehow. And you know, and then the next couple times they met, hey, 2020, they beat us in the COVID year. Okay, 2021 beat us in the SEC Championship game. They beat our doors off 41-24. And we come back and beat their doors off in the national championship, 33-18. I mean, it just gets to the point where that 5-1 narrative gets old, and it does feel like Georgia has to win this football game tomorrow night. Okay? That was my second point. The third point is I was just going to go over, okay, and this is going to be more for the Georgia fans. This is, and like I said, I'm trying hard not to trash talk here because I was calm today until my dad started texting me a couple of things that we've heard now, and I'm gonna get to that at the end of the video. But keys to Georgia winning this game, and I didn't even write them down. I literally just wrote keys to Georgia winning the game. I keep folding my note up, and I'm gonna need it in a second. It literally says, keys to Georgia win. There's 3 things that's got to happen here. I know you've watched 1,000 videos. I know you've watched 1,000 different people break the game down into every single granular aspect of every single position group. Our cornerbacks versus their receivers, and our linebackers versus their running backs and offensive line, and our quarterback, this and that, on and on. You know, I've even done a video like that where I broke down a little bit of it. Like I said, go back and watch. And if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and tap all for notifications of all new videos. And the video is almost 20 minutes long now. I didn't mean for that to happen, but we don't get this very often, guys, and we got to talk about it. You got to talk about it. And I enjoy hashing it out and talking about it. It makes me feel better. But this is my third point, and this is the keys to Georgia winning this football game. And like I said, we can go very complex here, but I really have simplified this down into 3 points. And this is what's got to happen. Okay, they're not in necessarily any particular order, but I'll save the best point for last. So that one is in order. And that's the number 1 point. That's what we have to do to win this game. For one, Georgia, when we get in the red zone, we got to score touchdowns. We got to score touchdowns. We cannot be kicking a bunch of field goals. Now, we're going to kick a field goal or 2. Okay, but we can't go in there kicking 4 or 5 field goals. When you play in a team like Alabama, when you're playing, they're a top 5 team, you know, you have to score touchdowns. We cannot be kicking field goals. When we get down there, we got to get in the end zone. And point number 2 is just like the vice versa of what I said. It's okay, guys, if Alabama moves the ball between the 20-yard lines, both ends of the field here, touchdown, or end zone. It's okay if Alabama moves the ball from the 20 to the 20. We have to stop them from scoring a touchdown. We have to keep them out of the end zone, okay? We have to hold them to 3. Just like we have to score touchdowns, we have to keep them from scoring touchdowns. I know that sounds very simple, but that's football, okay? Football is not all this hype that's built around it. It's very basic fundamentals, okay? It's blocking. It's not creating a bunch of turnovers. It's not having a bunch of penalties. It's winning the kicking game, okay? You gotta punt the ball well. You gotta flip the field. You gotta make your field goals when you do have to kick a field goal, and you gotta block and get a hat on a hat, okay? I'm gonna tell you something right now. And Kirby Smart will tell you the same thing. Football is blocking and tackling. And whatever team does that better, usually going to win the game. Now, there's 100 other things we can focus on, running the ball, pass. Football is blocking and tackling. And whoever does that the best is most likely going to win the game. Okay, so we got to score touchdowns. We can't be kicking field goals. We got to keep them from scoring touchdowns. They can move the ball from the 20 to the 20. But when they get to the 20, we got to lock them up on defense. We can't let them get in the end zone. And they're going to get in the end zone. We're going to give up 2 or 3 touchdowns. It's the freaking Alabama Crimson Tide. It's the freaking Georgia Bulldogs. They're going to score on each other. Like, this is the best of the best, and it's not a surprise. But the number one thing that Georgia has to do to win this football game, I don't care how, I don't care when. I mean, I do care when. It's got to be all the time. Jalen Milroe is going to break free 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 times. Okay, it's going to happen. He's an elite athlete. This man, he is an elite athlete. He's going to escape. He's going to slip a tackle and break one for 25 yards every now and then, guys. It's just going to happen. But for the majority of time, I don't care how. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what we got to do. I don't care what kind of defensive line, linebacker stunts we got to do. I don't care what type of contained package they have to do. I don't care if they have to put a spy on him or not. I don't care if we got to play zone coverage. I'm telling you, it don't matter how they do it. But what they have to do, they have to get number 4 on the ground. Georgia has got to get number 4 on the ground. And I mean quick, fast, and in a hurry. Okay? When that man's standing around there dancing around in the pocket and ain't nobody open, Georgia's covering. You can't cover wide receivers. You can't cover wide receivers longer than 15 seconds. You just can't do it. Not only that, he's going to take off with it. We got to get him on the ground. We got to get him on the ground. That's just simple as that. If Georgia doesn't get 4 on the ground consistently, it's ball game. Alabama will win. But I think we're gonna come out with a good plan. You know, Kirby was a little too hesitant last time we played, and I think he learned watching Michigan and watching South Florida be a little bit more aggressive with their linebackers, you know, and with more blitz and more pressures. I think we're gonna come after him. So that's the keys to a Georgia win there. And my last point, like I said, I'm trying hard. I'm trying really hard not to get into a bunch of trash talk, because I've already done my trash talk video. I'm just gonna tell you right now, I hate Alabama. I hate's a strong word. I strongly dislike Alabama. I strongly dislike their fans. I strongly dislike. They're the only thing that has pulled Georgia back from everything that we are trying to accomplish. And now, granted, like I said, Georgia's got as many national championships in the last 2 years as they do total losses. So just know what's coming down to Tuscaloosa. It ain't Wisconsin, and it ain't South Florida, who almost beat you, and it ain't Western Kentucky. It's the Georgia Bulldogs. There's a reason why Georgia was number 1 at the beginning of the year, and rankings don't make a hill of beans. They could put Alabama at number 11, and they could put Georgia at number 63, and it won't make a hill of beans in this game. I'm gonna tell you something too. The Kentucky game ain't gonna make a hill of beans in this game, because the Alabama Crimson Tide ain't gonna be playing the same Georgia Bulldogs that were playing the Kentucky Wildcats. And the South Florida game, it ain't gonna make a hill of beans, because the Georgia Bulldogs ain't gonna be playing that same Alabama team that plays South Florida. It's not Alabama versus South Florida, and it's not Georgia versus Kentucky. It's Georgia versus Alabama. Now I'm gonna say something that's done got me ticked off. You know, I thought about it today. It was y'all's turn to come to our house, okay? I'm trying not to do no trash talk now, but I'm getting ticked off here. It was y'all's turn to come to our house. The last time we played in 2020 in the COVID season, we had to come to Tuscaloosa. Home field advantage does matter, guys. Have you ever been to a college football game? If you haven't, you should go. And go to one of these big rivalry games. When the other team is trying to run the plays on the field, it is so loud. The quarterback is literally screaming into the running back's ear, and he still don't even know what he's saying. It's going to be a big deal, okay? Something that my dad started texting me today, and I'm going to end the video. started getting me ticked off and started getting me fired up. I told him, I'm about to drive over to Tuscaloosa right now, and Kirby's going to have to let me talk to the team because I'm about to get these boys fired up. It's all I've ever heard my whole life. It's all I've ever heard my whole life. Like my dad's generation, Florida was their kryptonite. Our kryptonite has been Alabama. We're 1-5 against them in the last 6. There's no arguing with that. You know, lost my train of thought there, but you know, there's no arguing. We're 1-5 against them. You know, but all I've ever heard my whole life is Alabama, 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 Alabama. Georgia sucks. Georgia can beat everybody but Alabama. Alabama, Alabama. Alabama's number 1. We're number 1, number 1, number 1. It don't matter what happens. We're the national champion every year. Alabama, Alabama, Alabama. And it's like, even when Georgia's the king, it's like, even when we're really on the throne, the national media and like people, it's almost like they still like make it out like Alabama's the top dog. Why, like I said, why does it still feel like we're going and trying to slay the giant? Ain't we the giant? Haven't we won national championships back to back in 2021 and 2022? Hadn't the last national championship Alabama won was 2020? By the way, I know y'all like to say that Georgia's built by Bama, and Nick Saban like gave birth to Kirby Smart, like he breastfed him, and like Nick Saban is somehow Kirby Smart's dad and mom at the same time. Them national championships and them they started kind of going away when Kirby left. They kind of started getting a few far and in between there. Starting to seem like maybe Kirby Smart had a lot to do with it. It's going to be a good game, guys. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game. I had one more point that I'm still trying to pull out of my mind. Like I said, I got a little sidetracked. But this is it. It's like my dad said. He looked on there today. Georgia's been the betting favorite for 2 weeks now. Georgia's been the betting favorite since the summertime. Now all of a sudden Vegas, and I don't bet, by the way. It's just a good way to gauge what people are thinking, what people are, you know. Vegas is the people up there building big buildings and hanging big chandeliers. They're making a lot of money off people. Georgia's been the favorite all week. We started out as a 3-point favorite. It dropped down to 2.5, then it dropped down to 1. And now as of today on most betting sites, Alabama has now swapped to the favorite. In other words, they think Alabama's going to win the game. Okay, everybody I've watched all week long, Paul Feinbaum, Josh Pate, even some of the guys I watched that are Georgia guys, Uncle Lou. Okay, and I you know, a lot of them. I can't sit here and name off all of them, but there's been basically everybody in media that isn't doing media for the Georgia Bulldogs has picked Alabama to win this game. Everybody's saying it's just, you know, look at what's happened in the past. Georgia's got a little bit of an issue with injuries on the defensive line. You know, they're having to go play in Tuscaloosa, which y'all are supposed to come play at our house. And it's just getting me ticked off that it's my dad's right. You know, they're not going to respect us until we go down there and beat them. They're not going to respect us until we go down there and beat them. I mean, soundly. I don't think Georgia just needs to win this game. I don't. I think Georgia needs to beat the brake drums of Alabama. I don't think they're going to respect us until we do. It's like the whole world is on their side, and it's like the whole world is against Georgia. It's Georgia versus the world right now. You know that national media don't want to see another dynasty. They don't want to see another Alabama. They don't want to see Georgia rise to the top and not be able to do anything to get them. You think they want to see 65-7 in national championship games? That ain't good for TV, brother. That ain't good for money. They don't want to see it. Okay, College Game Day is going to be there. Nick Saban's going to be up on stage with Pat McAfee, and they're going to be in there having the biggest time. It's going to be the biggest butt kissing fest you've ever seen. It's going to be all about Alabama the whole day long. The whole world, it feels like the whole world is on their side. And it feels like we got everything against us. I mean, guys, we are having to come to your house for the second time in a row. Y'all are going to have Nick Saban on College Game Day. Y'all do have everybody picking y'all and everybody on y'all's side. I think Kirby's glad about it. I think Kirby's happy about it. I think he's going to get in that locker room and fire them boys up and say the whole world thinks you're going to lose this football game. And I don't think Georgia just needs to go down there and beat them. I think Georgia needs to go down there and destroy them. And it's like my dad said, it's us versus the world. And until we go down there and beat the brake drums off of them in their house, they're not going to respect us. That's what we got to go do. It's times like this when I start getting nervous. And I know you're nervous. I'm nervous. We're both nervous for the game. I'm confident, but I'm nervous. I start thinking about Larry Munson. And I just start thinking about Larry Munson on them calls, man. All them wonderful calls Larry Munson made all throughout the years. Best broadcaster, best sports caller in the history of the game. Man, that man was something else. I just picture Larry Munson saying it. And it's all going to come down to this. It's all going to come down if Georgia can do this right here. And Larry Munson said it best. Can them dogs, come on, dogs. Hunker down one more time, dogs. Can we just hunker down on them one more time? I'm excited, y'all. Y'all pray for me.